What's up, guys? Welcome back to Cars, Cost, and Technology. Just wanted to put together a quick update video for everyone going over the most recent recall issued for the 2020 C8 Corvette. This will be an OTA or over-the-air update that's going to be pushed to existing owners' Corvettes as well as new C8 Corvettes, but because the update is not quite prepared or ready to be pushed, it is forcing a stop delivery order on existing C8 Corvettes being delivered. Now, there are some models that have already had the update installed from the plant that will still be delivered. Hopefully there are not many that will be delayed. I definitely feel for any of you who may have your cars delayed in this situation. I just received mine after an extremely long wait, so hopefully this is something that we're going to have resolved really quickly and move on into enjoying our cars. But basically, to sum things up, what's going on is this is the second recall issued for the front trunk of the C8 Corvette. You may remember recently there was a recall issued that pertained to the safety latch inside that was basically timing out and could potentially leave somebody stuck in the front trunk if they were trapped in there. Not really something that most of us, I'm sure, are all that worried about. Well, now this second recall that's been issued for the front trunk is pertaining to the possibility of somebody overlooking the warning system and the front trunk flying open while you're driving. I'm sure by now most of us have seen videos of this happening, articles written about this. There's been a lot of talk about this, and nobody can really pin down for sure if it is a mechanical failure or if it's just user error with the owners not closing the trunk all the way. I personally, after owning the C8 for about 2 weeks now, can say that I believe it is user error. This trunk is a cool trunk. I like the design, and we'll go over that a little bit more in detail, but I do think that it leaves a lot of room for error if you potentially make a mistake in closing it. There's a very specific process to get it closed all the way. I think that this is just happening to a lot of people where they're accidentally not closing it all the way, taking off, and the existing safety measures taken to warn somebody or stop this from happening are not quite strict enough, and that's why they're not realizing it until it actually flies open on them while they're driving. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the C8 Corvette front trunk, you have to actually push it down twice because there's two different latch systems. So the first latch is actually meant to hold the trunk down while leaving enough space for you to run a cable underneath into the front trunk where you can charge the battery with a battery tender. So it's a good design, but then you have to push another time really firm through to the second latch to make sure it's fully closed. I think this is where the issue lies. I think a lot of people are trying to close it like a traditional trunk where you slam it down one good time and it goes through the full latch and is nice and secure. That will not work on the C8 because of the back pressure or force from the lifts on the edges of the trunk. When you close that down, you're not going to be able to get quite enough force to go through both latches at the same time. You may get through the first one and sort of halfway through the second one, but I think it's going to leave you sort of in limbo there in the middle. Now, as far as whether or not the warning systems are working properly, that's also a big debate because in the footage that's been shared of these front trunks flying open, we either have no audio or music playing, so we don't really know if the drivers were ever warned that their trunk wasn't closed all the way. And therein lies the biggest issue, because that would be a big issue if, say, the trunk isn't necessarily failing or the latch isn't failing, but the software system isn't notifying the driver that the trunk isn't latched all the way. Either way is not a good situation, so I'm happy to see that GM is addressing this and taking on the issue. Now, they're sort of sticking to their guns after the initial response that they put out that this is just a situation of the warnings being overlooked, not a situation of the actual latch itself failing. So this is the same approach they've taken with this update. Basically, the update or recall will consist of a software update, no mechanical changes whatsoever, no dealer installation required. It will be a software update that will revamp the notification. I guess it's going to be a little more prominent, easier for people to see. They're also doing a huge step, which I think is going to be the biggest part in preventing all this from happening. They're going to reduce the top speed of the car down to 26 miles an hour if the front trunk isn't latched all the way. Before this, I believe you could go up to 84 miles an hour with your front trunk undone. I'm not exactly sure why they set the speed so high initially. I don't know if they thought maybe somebody would be bungee cording down the front trunk and putting bigger cargo in the front while going down the interstate. It is sort of interesting that they opted to set it so high initially, but I think they've made a really great decision by lowering it down to 26 miles an hour. That should definitely interfere with pretty much anyone's daily commute or route, basically making it to where you can't help but acknowledge that something's going on with the car if your trunk isn't all the way closed. They're also going to be updating the key fob as well as the interior release used for the front trunk. Both of those will need to have a longer press time. I'm not sure if there's any other changes to the audible warning or things like that in the car. We've yet to see exactly how this will be implemented. I'll maybe make an update video once I actually have the update available for my car. But all of these things combined, I think, should hopefully prevent or rule out the possibility of people ignoring the warnings or just not knowing that the trunk was open and it flying open that way, and definitely narrow it down. That way we know for sure, is this a mechanical issue and a failure of the latch itself, or is this a software issue where people aren't being notified that this is happening? I also think it's really cool that, just sort of a side note, that when something like this comes up, they're actually able to just push an over-the-air update to the car and make that many changes, such as limiting the top speed while the trunk is open, changes to how the key fob interacts with the car. All these different things can be done through an over-the-air update. That's just, again, totally random side note, but I'm really impressed that that's something that they're able to do. But anyway, hopefully the update will be ready soon. It's something that we can all get installed on our cars for existing C8 owners, and it doesn't hold up any of the new C8 owners too much. Again, I guess there are certain cars that it's been installed from the plant, so maybe the actual update itself is finished, but they're still trying to package it to work properly through the over-the-air system. Still a lot of questions that are unanswered at this moment, but again, for me personally, I will say that after using my trunk a number of times, I can say that it is definitely easy to not quite secure that second latch. Be really curious to see if this design sticks around for 2021 or going into 2022, because it is a cool design. It is something that I think has a great functionality to it, but because it is causing so much confusion and clearly some safety issues, I don't know if GM's going to stick with this design. They may end up needing to just go back to a traditional single latch system or something with a mechanical failsafe in there to make sure that the trunk can't pop back open, because we would hate to see them have any lawsuits or anyone get hurt over this, whether or not it's user error or it's a mechanical failure. You never want to see anyone's car get damaged or them get hurt. So hopefully this resolves it. Again, I think the biggest factor here, limiting that top speed down to 26 miles an hour, that will make it really hard to ignore if your front trunk is open. But again, for me personally, I do believe that after my personal experience, as well as a lot of my friends or other YouTube channels that I communicate with that have C8s as well, not having any issues, I have to think that this is more leaning on the side of somebody accidentally popped it before they got into the car, somebody accidentally popped it when they were in the car, somebody didn't close it all the way when they were putting something in the front and then took off. It has already been confirmed that you can't actually pop it while driving, so whether you push the button on the fob inside, obviously you're not going to push the outside release while driving it, but it shouldn't be happening while driving the car, from what we can tell, unless if there are some, again, faulty cars out there, which can't be ruled out completely. But anyway, guys, this is a ongoing situation, so just want to put together a quick video explaining what's going on. I would be glad to notify anyone or notify you all when I have the update on my personal car, see how this is implemented and how well the update works over the air, as well as the changes made to hopefully stop this from happening so we don't have to hear any more stories like this. It's unfortunate to see the C8 Corvette getting a bad rap out there among a lot of car sites. But anyway, guys, let me know in the comments below if you've had any issues with your front trunk or if you know anyone who has. I'm really curious to see if anyone has proof that they did not receive a warning, it was closed all the way, and it just popped open randomly. I just don't think that has happened yet. But anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. I appreciate the continued support and feedback. We'll talk to you next time. Have a great day.